Hello?
Wanna have a little fun?
Who's this?
Do you like scary movies?
If you thought the terror was over, if you believed the nightmare was finished,
Ow! Ow!
you were right. From the people who had nothing to do with Scream.
Drew Decker got killed last night. I was gonna cheat off her test today.
They didn't make the rules.
Oh my God, he's dead!
They're just too stupid to follow them.
We have to call the police.
No way! I ain't going to jail. It's okay, I'm fine. We'll get rid of the body.
There are certain rules to follow in order to survive a horror movie. Rule number 1.
Don't answer the phone.
I'm in the house. You know where I am.
You're behind the couch. I can, see your feet.
What? Oh.
Don't talk to reporters.
The press only wants to interview the most ignorant person they can find.
Oh, gee! First cops, now this?
And whatever you do, don't be afraid to rise to the occasion.
Oh!
Ah, gee.
Go, 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 go!
Oh, man.
Scary movie.
This is awesome.
Obviously, this is a parody of Scream. Not only that, but other various things. I Know What You Did Last Summer, Halloween, The Shining, Friday the 13th, The Usual Suspects, Sixth Sense, Blair Witch Project, Matrix, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, pretty much anything that was popular at the time. And, story basically kind of similar to Scream. You have a group of teenagers who accidentally hit a man with a car, dump his body in the lake, and swear to secrecy. And then years later, someone wearing a ghost face mask and robe begins hunting them one by one. So they combine both elements of both Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. This was a massive hit when it came out, and it's funny because I was saying this at the end of the last episode. This kind of did for the Scream series in general what Airplane kind of did for the airport genre back in the 80s. Like, Airplane, when that movie came out, that was seen by many as kind of the final punch to the gut on the numerous disaster movies that were coming out around that time, the Irwin Allen type stuff. And here, you know, the Scream series was going out on a limb. Like, it was going out on a limb after starting off so strong. So this was kind of basically that equivalent to what Airplane was back in the day. This was the thing that kind of knocked Scream down. It was the final nail in the coffin. And for a little bit, it was the last thing that came out of the Scream series. And like I said, it was a massive hit when it came out. It wasn't the biggest hit critically, but it made over like $278 million worldwide on a budget of just $19 million. So, yeah, people really seem to eat this one up. And yeah, I have some interesting theories about interesting opinions on the Scary Movie series in general. Like, I don't hate the first two Scary Movie films. I like the Wayans brothers' work a lot. I think there are some very funny stuff in the first two Scary Movie films that I easily see be very funny and laugh a lot at. But if you want my personal opinion, I kind of prefer Scary Movies 3 and 4 better, mostly because of my love of the Zucker brothers. I love their style of spoof comedy. I thought they did a better job with those films. I think they had more memorable moments to them. Plus, Leslie Nielsen's in those movies, and I just, like, that guy can do no wrong in my opinion. I mean, anytime he shows up on screen, even in the worst movies, you could tell that he's at least trying. And again, it's the Zucker brothers. I will usually watch anything they're involved in, and will more than likely enjoy it regardless. But like I said, nothing about these two movies the two Scary Movie films, and the first two Scary Movie films, I should say, are bad. They're not bad movies. They are, I guess you could say that they're legitimately funny films. I mean, there are elements in there where some of the humor I do like. I do like a lot of some of the jokes in this movie. Just really funny moments in general. Anna Faris, Regina Hall, Sharon Elizabeth. I mean, there's a really stacked cast in here, and they're all working off each other very well here. Like I said, the humor is a very mixed bag. Some of it is really, really funny. Some of it is not so funny, but you could tell the effort in there was there, and they were trying. And, yeah, I mean, really, I have a very mixed opinion on these movies. At times, I really like them, but at the same time, I'm not completely in love with them like I think a lot of people are with the first two Scary Movie films. I think they're just okay. I liked it middle of the road with 3 and 4, and just my personal take on it. But like I said, there are funny moments in here. There are some moments in here that I do think are very well done. I like that Miramax basically said, we're more than willing to make fun of one of our most popular franchises by having the Ghostface costume and the mask in this movie being like spoofed around and everything. Like you see in the trailer, like the Ghostface mask is like all messed up and all that. Like it's like him, it's like he's high or something like that. Stuff like that can be really, really funny. And yeah, there are a lot of good moments in here. Does it work all the way through? No, it doesn't. But at the same time, there's still more than enough here that I could say that it's a passable film. It's not one of the best comedies that came out that year. It's not the best movie in the Scary Movie series, in my personal opinion, but it worked for what it was trying to do. It was there to make it, to satirize the horror movie genre, satirize what had come out over the last couple of years, and it did its job well for the most part. But, like I said, I have no ill will against the Wayans Brothers movies. I like the Zucker Brothers ones better. So that's my thoughts on Scary Movie. And let's move on to our next film, and that is Bruce Willis and Disney's The Kid.
How can I help you, Governor?
They tell me there's going to be an investigation.
For Russ Doran, time is money.
Stop crying. No, I mean right now. You're giving me a headache.
An image is everything.
You lousy jerk.
Jerk.
Jerk. If you get called a jerk 4 times in the same day, does that make it true?
What, only 4? To get up there?
But in the business of giving advice, he's the one who needs help the most.
There is nothing wrong with me.
Take your phone off. You're with a human now.
Now, on his 40th birthday,
Just when I think I've seen the worst in you, when I get the tiniest glimpse of the kid in you.
he'll get a magical chance to rediscover himself. As Russ Doritz, the man,
I know you.
meets Russ Doritz, the kid.
Are you who I think you are?
Russell Morley Doritz.
How'd you know my name?
I'm dreaming!
I don't think you're dreaming, because you're talking and your eye is sort of twitching.
This little boy is me at age 8. I want you to make him disappear.
How was the therapist this morning?
Do it, Janet. Who is Chester?
My dog. The dog I'm going to get when I grow up.
Sorry, kid. No dog here.
No dog? Now let me get this straight. I'm 40, I'm not married, and I don't have a dog. I grow up to be a loser.
This July,
All I see when I look at him is a collection of awful memories. Memories I spent most of my adult life trying to forget.
one man
How's Minnie you?
That's hilarious, Janet.
and one boy will get a second chance
Holy smoke!
at life.
What happens next between being me and becoming you?
There's something very strange going on.
She's not gonna believe us.
She will!
She won't!
She will!
She won't!
She will!
Hey!
Told you.
Disney's The Kid.
So the trailer kind of pretty much sums up the movie as a whole. You have Bruce Willis as this image consultant who on his 40th birthday is mysteriously confronted by his 8-year-old version of himself. He's played by Spencer Breslin, who of course star in The Cat in the Hat, Santa Claus 2, a couple of other movies around this time period. And I remember seeing this movie in theaters, and I remember seeing it back then when it came out. And as a kid, I thought it was alright, but as I grew up, I really began to realize how this movie does things that are so much different than I thought it would. The way I felt it, basically what I'm trying to say is the way I felt back as a kid when I saw this movie feels very different from the way I saw it nowadays. Because at the time I saw it, it was just like, it was alright, but I watched it now over 20 years later, and I gotta say, man, this movie holds up pretty well, all things considered, because it's been 20 years since this movie came out, and you can really relate to Bruce Willis' situation here. You're basically trying to figure out where the story is going with here. How is he seeing this 8-year-old version of himself? And it is a really fun premise overall. And it works well. The chemistry overall between Willis and Breslin works very well. You also have a really good supporting cast alongside here to make this work. Emily Mortimer, Lily Tomlin, Gene Smart, She McBride. I mean, just really great talent all over this movie. And at times, it's a little too manipulative at times, honestly, the more I think about it, but never to the point where you really completely lose interest in it. And I do like that the film kind of plays with your expectations. Like, there are situations in this film where you really think that they're going to do something that you would see in basically as a cliche in many other movies, but the movie's smart enough to actually do something a little bit different. It actually gives you a chance to see something that you weren't expecting from before, and for that, I really do appreciate that they didn't go the typical cliched route with this at times. I mean, they did a very good job of handling most of the situations in here, and really, I think the movie really works because of the way it ends, because basically what happens is that they basically go through a tunnel, Russ and the kid, and Russ and his younger self, and they go back to 1968 when he goes back to see some of the bad things that happened, and it kind of is very reminiscent of something like Christmas Carol, when you look at the Ghost of Christmas Past, like you see like people like you see like the Ghost of Christmas Past is basically him and Scrooge are just there to just see what happens, and they can't interact with what's going on in there because it's just stuff that's happened in the past, and in a way, like it reminds me of what when Nostalgia Critic did the Disney December review, we talked about how there's a lot of similarities to this, and how like he sees like one of the best versions of A Christmas Carol being the one where George C. Scott in the '84 version is playing the older Ebenezer Scrooge, and sees the version of his dad back when he was a younger kid, and he just has this look on his face like he can't really do anything, but he just has to see it from his own eyes now. This is this older man talking to him as a young boy and seeing how his life changes around here. And you can definitely get a sense of that in this movie. I think the film does a very good job of never going to the point where it's too extreme or too out of the ordinary. It just feels right. Everything about that ending feels right, and it really lifts the movie to another level. I really do not have any major problems with the film. I take that back. There is one thing in particular. It's kind of a nitpicky thing. It's this. Did you really need to throw in the cheap cartoony sound effects on Ed and Nettie? I mean, seriously, Disney, like, do you have a problem with Ed and Nettie or something? I mean, maybe you do. Maybe it's because it's your direct competitor, Warner Brothers, but, no, that's always been bothering me ever since I saw this movie. Why the hell did you add all those cheap cartoony sound effects onto Ed and Eddie when Ed and Nettie already has a number of different sound effects that you could have already used already? But yeah, that's just a little nitpicky thing, but it's one that really, really has bugged me for many, many years since I saw this movie. But, yeah, little nitpicks overall, but man, I love the kid. I think it's a very good film that has gotten better with time. Definitely check it out. It's definitely worth a watch once again. So, with that said, let's move on to our last movie, and that is Natasha Lyonne in But I'm a Cheerleader.
With me.
Yeah, that wasn't the best trailer I could find for that, but you gotta work with what you gotta work with here. But basically I have the story of Natasha Lyonne from American Pie playing a high school cheerleader whose parents sent her to a residential inpatient conversion therapy camp to cure her lesbianism. And at camp, Megan realizes that she is indeed a lesbian, and despite the therapy, comes to embrace her sexuality. Actually ends up having a girlfriend played by Clea Duvall, who is also... I thought she was one of the writers on here, but no, she's not. But you also have RuPaul and Kathleen Moriarty, along with Melanie Linsky, Eddie Cibrian. Richard Mall's also in here as well. It's a film I've never seen in full, but, you know, Natasha Lyonne is somebody that I'm really glad to see is back in the spotlight again after so many years. Like, there was a point where everyone thought her career was pretty much done with because she kept getting in trouble with... she was in trouble for something. I can't remember what it was now. It was actually a ton of things. She was arrested for drinking under the influence. She had some problems with her heart. I think she was taking like drugs or something, like methamphetamines or something like that. I don't know for certain, but there was a point when everyone thought her career was kind of over. But the fact that she's been able to make this comeback in the last decade with stuff like Russian Doll, which is a great show on Netflix, and even now Poker Face on Peacock is very good too. And she's been appearing in Old Navy commercials this holiday season. Like, I never realized how much I really like seeing Natasha Lyonne again until I've been watching the stuff she's been doing recently. I mean, she is a good actress and a really funny comedic actress. And this is one of those movies that from the little bits and pieces I've seen, it's really good stuff here. It's a really solid, enjoyable film. You do like the chemistry between Leon and Duvall. Leon and Duvall. RuPaul, seeing him kind of outside of the usual thing that we used to see, usual stuff we used to see him in. Like, he's in this pretty much without the drag stuff on him, and it's actually kind of amusing to see him in that. Kathy Moriarty is usually a great actress. Richard Mull, I mean, what more can you say about him? There are elements in here that are really, really good, and from the little bits and pieces I've seen from this film, it definitely looks like it's a really funny movie. The stuff I've seen has been really funny. I do like the chemistry between the two leads. I think it is, for the stuff I've seen, a really good film. I haven't seen it all in full, but I've seen enough to say that I probably would really enjoy the rest of the movie if I ever get a chance to see the rest of it. But from the little bits and pieces I've seen from it, it really looked like it was a well-made film. So one day I definitely look forward to checking this out in full. But like I said, but I'm a cheerleader. From what I've seen, looks pretty good.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now seeing the beginnings of another stage of human evolution.
In every human being, there's not many people that will understand people like us. There exists the genetic code.
You'll be safe here.
What kind of place is this?
You're not the only one with gifts.
For mutation.
The truth is, mutants are very real. And they are among us. We must know who they are, and above all, what they can do.
A change is coming.
Are you a God-fearing man, Senator?
And those we fear.
Magneto believes that a war is brewing between mutants and the rest of humanity.
Will be all that can save us.
If no one is equipped to oppose them, humanity's days could be over.
You're a mutant. The whole world out there is full of people that hate and fear you, and you're wasting your time trying to protect them. You sure you're on the right side?
I have made the first move. That is all they know.
He could wipe out everyone in New York City. Logan, help us. Fight with us.
I'll take care of you.
We are the future, not them. Settle this. We're not what you think. Not all of us.
Of course, this is a movie that was in development for several years. You got to go all the way back to 1984 when it started off as a film with Orion Pictures, back when they were still a studio on their own. And then as the time went on, James Cameron, Catherine Bigelow were in various discussions at some points. 10 years after the development began, the film rights eventually went over to 20th Century Fox, and there was a number of different writers that came in on that, including the writer of Seven, Andrew Kevin Walker. Joss Whedon was one of the writers that came on board, Michael Chabon. Finally, in 1996, Bryan Singer came on in, and he, along with Christopher McQuarrie, David Hayter, and Ed Solomon, basically came together to put the movie that we have here together. And most notably, this is the Hollywood debut of actor Hugh Jackman, who was the last second choice for Wolverine. Dougray Scott was the original person intended for the role, but then he dropped out of this to do Mission Impossible 2, which probably was a bad move on his part, but I digress. But the basic story of X-Men, it depicts a world of superheroes in a small proportion that people are mutants who are possessed of superhuman powers, making them distrusted by normal humans. The film focuses on the mutants Wolverine and Rogue, Hugh Jackman and Anna Paquin, as they are brought into a conflict between two groups that have radically different approaches to bringing about the acceptance of mutant kind. Professor Xavier's X-Men, Xavier played by Patrick Stewart, and the Brotherhood of Mutants led by Magneto, played by Ian McKellen. The film also introduces other famous characters from the comics, including Storm, played by Halle Berry, Cyclops, James Morrison, Jean Grey, Famke Janssen, Sabretooth, Tyler Mane, Iceman, Shawn Ashmore, and Mystique, played by Rebecca Romaine Stamos. And yeah, the movie did a pretty good job of bringing all these characters from the comics to life on the big screen, especially Hugh Jackman, who I thought did a pretty good job perfectly representing who Wolverine was in the comics and in the cartoon from the 90s. And he does create kind of a memorable character on the level of somebody like Christopher Reeve in Superman or even Michael Keaton in Batman. It's funny because they originally wanted to get Russell Crowe, too, for this part, but he dropped out due to salary issues, which probably was a good thing. I don't know if I could see Wolverine as played by Russell Crowe. I mean, and you want to know some crazy casting that could have almost happened? They almost got Keanu Reeves to play Wolverine, and I mean, Keanu Reeves is a great action star. Don't get me wrong. I mean, John Wick is pretty much everything you need to know, but as Wolverine? Like, I have to think that the casting director got fired once that name was considered because of how stupid that would sound. But yeah, that was almost a reality. But everything else about the movie looks like all the characters from the comics, and they did their job of making the comics assemble the characters to be like. And this was a game changer for superhero movies. I mean, you just had the double whammy of both Batman and Robin and Steel coming out in '97, and then there was that break between those movies, and you finally get people who know what they're doing. They are clearly fans of the source material, and the results speak for themselves. This is a film that not only helped to relaunch the superhero genre, but led to bigger and better superhero movies as time went on over the 20 plus years since this first film came out. It did a pretty good job of giving us an origin story without using the Sentinels, which is a big part of the origin of the X-Men story. I mean, even the TV series used the Sentinels in there, although they were in the early drafts of the script, but the head of Fox at the time, Tom Rothman, thought the ideas of Sentinels was stupid and didn't want them in the film, which he never really liked the X-Men characters' stories whatsoever, except for Wolverine's, and that's why we got the X-Men spin-off Wolverine, and look at how well that movie turned out. But, which begs the question, why do you even have him showing up in X-Men 3, more I think about it, but there are a lot of problems with the movie, like the idea of having some of the one-liners which range from being really corny to just not making any sense. And you know which line I'm talking about, when Halle Berry is basically going to Toad and just like, you know what happens to a toad that gets struck by lightning? The same thing as everything else. It's just like, what does that even mean? I mean, that line doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I had to check just to make sure there wasn't like any like writer strike or something that would have kept the writers from making that, from not getting it in there to be like another Batman situation. But nope. Somebody at Fox saw that and said, sounds good, keep it in the film. And just like, that was a line that somebody threw in there because they just didn't care about their job and nobody else bothered to examine the line before they decided to film that scene. I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I guess there's one other real flaw in the movie that I have, is that some of the characters really did get on my nerves, like Rogue. I mean, Anna Paquin's good in the role, but if you watch the cartoon, that she was a badass Southern belle. Like, she had that accent, too, but it's just like, if you watch her in the movie, she's very whiny, she screams way too much. I mean, in a way, she's kind of more like Jubilee from the cartoon rather than Rogue, and I'm glad that the movies down the line gave her more to do, and gave her a much-needed boost in the second and third films, because she really became her own character again as we begin to like her again. Unlike here, where she just feels like she's in there just because they couldn't get the rights to put Jubilee in there, so we got to make her look more Jubilee than Rogue, and it ended up backfiring big time. Anna Paquin's a great actress too. I mean, she's got an Academy Award when she was a kid, for God's sake. But yeah, that was just not a good way to portray that character overall. Even though I thought her performance was fine in here, but yeah, X-Men does have a lot of flaws to it overall, but as a film goes on a whole, it is a really well-made movie. There's a lot of great action. The story overall works very well. The actors make the characters their own. And, like I said, it's a great superhero movie that eventually led to this renaissance of superhero movies we've had in the 20-plus years since this movie came out. And it really changed the game in terms of how to make movies again. It also gave Marvel the boost to say that, hey, we know what we're doing now. We can finally make movies based off of our characters that don't seem like they're made by hacks overall. And of course, their next film would be one of the biggest superhero movies of all time, but we'll eventually get to that when we get to 2002. But X-Men starts us off on a right note. Not a perfect film overall, but still a good enough film that does deliver everything it promises and then some.
She's awake.
We'll be quick and quiet.
I don't want to be either.
I'll miss you so much.
I'll come back all the time.
All the time? Did a great job. She's a good kid.
We did. What are they doing next door?
I guess the neighbors are making up.
Leave it open.
Think we can take them?
It's worth a try.
Just us now.
I heard noises. I didn't want to disturb you, but at the house, I was scared.
Claire's hearing things. What are you hearing?
Voices, whispering, a picture fell. Missing girl. Can you remember this?
No.
I stopped at this cafe to get a coffee and I see Norman, but he wasn't alone. Look at this. Doesn't it look exactly like a face? And there's a hand, see?
Someone who's very close to me seems to be in contact with some kind of entity or spirit.
There's a ghost in my house.
Any idea what she wants?
She said... Did you know her?
I had an affair with her. She came out here to the house, threatened to kill herself.
Get out!
We can put this behind us. Our life can go on. It's not too late.
You had an affair with a girl who killed herself, and now she's trying to hurt you.
What does she look like?
She looked like me, only she had green eyes.
Stop!
Hello, Dr. Spencer.
You're not yourself today, are you?
No, I'm not. I think she's starting to suspect something. Your wife.
And that right there is why this movie has any memorability to it whatsoever. I'm not even kidding. Michelle Pfeiffer is legitimately terrifying in this movie. I mean, you can tell she's putting her all into this performance where she has to play not only herself, but this whole other person altogether. And just moments like that, it makes the movie worth it in the end. Not to say the movie is bad per se. There are a lot of things about it that I do think really do work in the end. One is Michelle Pfeiffer. I think her and her chemistry with Harrison Ford works fine enough as it is. Harrison Ford, I think, does a pretty good job in here as well. It's interesting to see Robert Zemeckis take a different turn here. He's not relying heavily on too much CG effects overall here. The mystery aspect overall isn't really that amazing or anything like that, but what it builds up to with that performance that she gives and all the stuff that leads up to this, it does make it worth it in the end. I think the performances overall are well done. I had no idea this was actually written by Colston from the Marvel Cinematic, from the MCU, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Clark Gregg wrote the script for this. I don't think he's ever written anything else after this. I could be wrong on that, but in fact, I'm probably pretty sure that I'm wrong on that. But well, no, he actually wrote and directed one of my favorite underrated films from later on in the decade, Choke, which was a really good film, based off of the story from the guy that wrote Fight Club. But we'll save that for later on down the road here. Great movie, by the way. But here, this is a film that really, really is not the greatest overall, except for when it's Michelle Pfeiffer giving this really tense, chilling, terrifying performance. It just really elevates this to a whole nother level, and I think it does it, and I think part of that is why I get so invested into it. The mystery aspect is not that interesting overall, but it is still really tense and exciting to watch. Like, you really have no idea what's going to happen next. Like, you have no idea where this is going to transpire to when it's all said and done. When it does, it kind of falls flat a little bit when it's all said and done, but when it works really well, and I think it is a very strong, well-made film, and it really is benefiting from the fact that Michelle Pfeiffer is putting her all into it. Like I said, Harrison Ford's not bad in here either, but man, she's really good in this movie. She's the reason why you need to check this movie out. It's definitely worth it for her. You'll find a lot of other elements to it that work very well as well. It's a really solid film. It's definitely not the better of the two Robert Zemeckis films that came out in 2000. We'll get to that one when we get to the end of the year with Castaway, but well, Lies Beneath works well for what it is, so let's move on to the next movie, and that is Pokemon the Movie 2000.
They're back to save the world by popular demand. An ancient legend is coming true. A force with the power that could threaten the entire balance of the world. This summer, prepare for an all-new challenge and see how one person will make all the difference. On July 21st, get ready for the greatest adventure they've ever had to face with Pokemon you've never seen before. Kids WB presents Pokemon the Movie 2000.
Pikachu!
Only in theaters July 21st. Find out about the all-new Pokemon trading card game card giveaway and other Pokemon 2000 events at theater lobby displays and on the new Pokemon website.
Kind of interesting how the Pokemon series, the more movies they made, the less popular they became. Despite the fact that the more movies they made, the more better they got. I mean, this is actually a far superior film than the first Pokemon movie, but I'll delve into that in just a little bit here. But Pokemon the Movie 2000 comes less than 6 months after the surprising success of Pokemon the first movie, and because they already knew that there was going to be tons of these movies coming, no wonder they called the first one the first movie. But the story here is that you basically have two parts here. Just like in the last film, you have Pikachu's, just like it has Pikachu's Vacation as the short film that comes before it. You have Pikachu's Rescue Adventure that has a story that takes place after the events of the second season, when Tracy joins the crew and Brock leaves, and in the movie they enter Shimoni Island. The movie itself, they enter the island of Shimoni Island, while there to discover the three legendary Pokemon, bird Pokemon, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. Meanwhile, there's a collector named Lawrence III who attempts to steal the three Pokemon to awaken Lugia, which proves dangerous for the legendary Pokemon, Lugia, and Ash himself, who is being described as the Chosen One. Hence why the film has the subtitle The Power of One. Like I said, it's an improvement over the previous film. Like I think the short is much better than the previous film. The film itself is really well done. I think it has a really fun concept overall. Like this idea that Ash is the Chosen One, and he has to basically. I mean, they don't really give a good idea of what he has to do. He just basically has to stop the bad guy from collecting all these birds to awaken this creature overall. And I do like the fact that they actually have Team Rocket actually teaming up with Ash and the gang this time around. I think it's fun when they kind of break the rules like that and have them work together to stop the big baddie in this movie. And I think they did a pretty good job with that. Plus, the animation I think works a lot better in this one than the first movie did. There aren't as many WTF plot elements that are thrown in here, stories or subplots that don't make a whole lot of sense. I think this one does a much better job of handling that. But like I said, it does get better as the series goes on with these first couple of movies. Because I think the next film, the one that was the least successful out of the three by Warner Brothers, probably is the overall best one. But we'll eventually get to that when we get to Pokemon 3. But it's an entertaining movie. I think it's a well-made film for the most part. But really, I think the one element that I really take away from this isn't the movie itself, but the soundtrack. The soundtrack for this movie is surprisingly really damn good, and it has a really great song by Donna Summer, The Power of One. Then you got all these different songs from the artists of the time. You got like Dream Street, Westlife, Youngstown featuring Nobody's Angel, O-Town, the B-52s, Weird Al Yankovic has a song in here. Like, I know most of these people because I grew up around this time when they were very popular. I mean, I was like 11 years old when this came out, so. And I watched Kids WB a lot too. I was a fan of Pokemon when this came out, and fittingly, once I joined the Pokemon phenomenon, that's when it started to take the nosedive. I mean, I don't know, but the soundtrack is really good. Like the Power of One song is one you can still listen to this very day. It's a really damn good song that still holds up after all these years. It's really one of the best Donna Summer songs overall. The movie is just a ton of fun. It's a really good, well-made film. It's definitely cleaning up a lot of the problems from the first movie. Granted, there are still some flaws here and there, but the music overall is really good. The animation overall is really good. It's much more fun than the previous movie, and I think that really shows the elevation of these films going forward, which is interesting because around this time, the Pokemon zeitgeist was kind of lowering and lowering as the seasons went on, mostly because they were kind of like, it felt like they were kind of changing the rules around as the show was continuing on. Plus, you had some competition coming in the way, not only from Kids WB, but also Fox Kids, because Digimon was coming up and was turning out to be just as successful as Pokemon, which we'll eventually get to them as we have a Digimon movie coming up later in the year. But yeah, Pokemon the Movie 2000, I think, is definitely a much more successful movie in terms of what they were trying to accomplish compared to the first film. But like I said, it does get better as we get to the third film and the last film released by Warner Brothers. But we'll eventually get to that one in 2001. But I like Pokemon the Movie 2000. I think it's a ton of fun. So With that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Loser.
Good afternoon. Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
Paul is out of touch.
Yeah. Let me try that one again. No, man, that's cool. Don't worry.
Dora is out of luck.
I'm calling for the Gal Friday job.
Are you saying it?
He's trying to fit in.
That is a great hat.
Did the producers of Fargo have a garage sale?
She's trying to get a break.
Hi, I'm calling about the ad for healthy girls with good SAT scores.
You take your clothes off in there.
I don't know if it's even legal.
And the semester's just begun.
Try not to be so much like, you.
Jerry Lewis, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, how about that?
Looks like you banged your knee pretty bad.
I know. No, I'm fine.
Let's put some ice on it.
And all the girlies say I'm pretty fly for a white guy.
You gotta help me. Lisa is all primed. Her helpful friend, Fat Rita, will take her home unless she gets some action, too. Take one for the team.
You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
Think you could turn it down a scotch? Scotch? The hell is that?
He may not get it. She may not know it.
What happens to the nasty girl who hates everyone, huh?
I don't know. I had fun with you. It's pretty dorky, huh?
Look who you're asking.
But they just might be perfect for each other.
Oh, hey.
Sorry,
This summer, take your best shot.
You have a girlfriend?
Ex-girlfriend. She lost some weight, so she's dating a lot more now.
But remember, winning isn't everything.
Al, how you doing?
Loser.
If you could only kill one of the Backstreet Boys, which would you pick?
The one with the really creepy facial hair.
I think for alleged heterosexuals, you both know far too much about the Backstreet Boys.
I mean, I don't know too much about the Backstreet Boys, but I do like their songs. But that's another thing altogether. But Loser, this is actually Amy Heckerling's first film after the success of Clueless, and it's actually a remake of Woody Allen's The Apartment, where you have a story where you have a fish-out-of-water college student played by Jason Biggs who falls for a classmate played by Mina Suvari. Both, of course, were in American Pie, unaware that she's in a relationship with the English teacher played by Greg Kinnear. Which kind of begs the question, what Oz thinks about Jim basically in a relationship with his girlfriend from American Pie. I think that's kind of amusing overall, and this is one of those movies where I think the trailer definitely shows a lot of the more sillier, funnier moments to it. Like I like the scene where he's falling down the steps. I like the thing with the guy slapping. Is Jason Biggs just like, hey, can you turn it down a scotch? And the guy's like, scotch? What the hell is that? Like, sadly, I think a lot of the best moments are in that trailer. And this movie, I think, perfectly fits what Jason Biggs' characters were, what you expect from a Jason Biggs character, and it's something like Boys and Girls that we talked about earlier in the year, which felt like he was miscast in here. I thought the chemistry overall between Biggs and Suvari worked pretty well, but then again, these are the two people that worked on American Pie. Even though they didn't share a ton of scenes together, if any, you could still buy into their chemistry overall here. Plus, Greg Kinnear, I think, is very good. But as far as the movie itself goes, it's pretty lackluster. It doesn't really do anything that unique or that different overall to make it really stand out as something really good. And for Amy Heckerling, who's coming off of Clueless after this one, you really think you would expect a little bit more from that. But she made the point that this was originally supposed to be intended more to be an R-rated comedy, which I think probably would have benefited this movie better. But Sony wanted PG-13 rating on it because apparently they think that R-rated comedies don't do well in the summer. I mean, it's not like American Pie was one of the biggest hits from last year, even though that was exactly rated R2. But I digress. But other than that, though, it really wasn't as good as I think many people wanted it to be. I think there were elements where you could definitely see it working. You could definitely see where they were almost getting close to making it work. You know, like I said, the chemistry between the two leads is really good. Greg Kinnear is very funny in here. But other than that, though, everything else about it has kind of been there, done that. And you kind of expect a little bit more from that, especially with the talents they have on board here. But like I said, a lot of the really good moments in the film are in that trailer I just showed you. But other than that, though, it's pretty forgettable. It's just not worth it in the end, really. I can't really say avoid it like the plague, because there are little moments there where it almost works, but I can't really say it's anything great either. Like, if you really don't have anything else to watch, I'd say watch it once, and then you'll probably forget about it almost immediately after you watch it. I know I did, but I digress. Let's move on to our last movie we have here. Easily the worst movie of the week, and that is The In Crowd.
Did you just see the new girl?
Yeah.
The In Crowd.
We can go in here and get as crazy as we want.
They bring new meaning to rich.
You would kill in that dress.
Sexy.
I don't know her. She's not your friend.
And drop dead gorgeous.
If I brought you in, I can easily throw you out. If only she would go away.
The In Crowd. Look for it on video cassette and DVD.
Just when you thought Gossip was one of the worst WB pilot to be made into a movie around this time period, here's this one that gets that kind of has the same problems with Loser. Like, it's trying to aim for a PG-13 rating, and this is something that clearly should have been R, and even when it tries to be R, it doesn't work out in the end. I'll talk about that in just a second here, but you have this woman, Adrienne Williams, played by Lori Hearing. She enters the In Crowd when she is hired by a posh East Coast country club and befriended by Brittany Foster, played by Susan Ward, the charismatic leader of a clique of wealthy college students who are home for the summer. Brittany takes Adrienne under her wing, attempts to show her the benefits of the good life, and introduces her to one of the members of the inner circle, including the object of Brittany's affection, tennis pro Matt Curtis, played by Matthew Steele. Probably don't even know who he is, but when Matt shows an interest in Adrienne, Brittany begins to reveal her dark side, and Adrienne slowly starts to learn that Brittany and her pack of friends will do anything to protect their circle and the dark secrets they harbor. Did I mention that this woman, that Adrienne is actually a mentally disturbed young woman who was just coming out of a psyche ward? Yeah, this is one of the stupidest things ever. This is one of the stupidest movies you will ever see. It's not funny, it's not thrilling, it's not engaging. It tries to be this guilty pleasure type of a film, and it can't even work that way because it just fails on so many levels. Like, this is a film that I have no idea what the hell they were trying to accomplish with this. Like I said, it feels like a bad WB pilot mixed in with somebody that said, hey, this movie Wild Things was a success because we had a lesbian scene with Neve Campbell and Denise Richards. We need to have this in that movie, and yeah. They took that out. No joke. The film was originally supposed to be rated R because of a scene where you have the two people in here, Brittany and Henry. Was trimmed down for a PG-13 release, but in the original R-rated version, Brittany removes her dress while the breasts are revealed. Then her dress was taken down to as low as her thighs. In the PG-13 version, it's not extended beyond the exposure of Brittany's breast, but a kiss between the two girls in here, like I said, because, you know, Wild Things just came out, and that's what we have to do here, was also trimmed for the film to receive a PG-13 rating. But why? Why did they need to sell this as a PG-13 movie? What about this concept is worthy of a PG-13? It fails on so many levels. It's trying to be a guilty pleasure campy movie, and it can't even do that correctly. It's a mess, and it really hurts when you consider that this is the same director that gave us Pet Sematary. Is almost over 10 years ago. It's just like, what a fall from grace this woman has. I mean, this woman made Pet Sematary and Pet Sematary 2, which are way better films compared to this. But, like, the first Pet Sematary is a fun, guilty pleasure movie. And the second one is also kind of fun, too. But this... No, this is just crap. Plain and simple. This is one I will tell you, avoid it like the plague. The In Crowd. Just stay out of it, man. Just stay out of it.
On July 28th,
Well, hello there, Stripper Man.
drop everything and get ready
That's it, son. Show 'em what the custom is.
for the biggest comedy of the summer.
Got milk?
Eddie Murphy. Professor 2. Clubs rated PG-13. Starts Friday, July 28th in theaters everywhere.
So this is, of course, a sequel to the 1996 Eddie Murphy movie directed by Tom Shadyac. He does not return for this. It's Peter Segal, who he's kind of my comfort food director. He makes a lot of movies I really do like. I like Tommy Boy's one of my favorite comedies. I like My Fellow Americans. I like what's another one he did? The ones with Adam Sandler, Anger Management, 50 First Dates, The Longest Yard, Get Smart's a really good one. Second Act, a movie that I probably really should not like, but somehow I found myself enjoying it. He's not made a movie that I've really, really hated in general. I mean, most of his movies have been at least somewhat entertaining, and this one is entertaining enough. Taking place after the events of the first movie, Dr. Sherman Klump, once again played by Eddie Murphy, dedicates himself to science. However, when he meets this beautiful fellow DNA researcher, played by Janet Jackson, who replaces Jada Pinkett from the first movie, who basically didn't return for this because she went on to sign with the Matrix sequels. She was pregnant, and she, of course, married Will Smith. So here, now you have Janet Jackson's character, who they kind of established early on that they've been in this relationship for a long period of time between films. But as the love-smitten professor dreams of a brighter future, the lean and mean Buddy Love persona emerges demanding freedom. Now the nasty alter ego stands in the way to happiness, and poor Sherman must do everything in his power to rid himself of Buddy once and for all. Can the Roddy Klump family lend a helping hand? And the Klump family, as the title indicates, they have a more substantial role in this movie here. They're not just there to be like a random supply here. They have more increased story elements in this particular story. This has several different writers on this one. Barry Blaustein, David Sheffield, Paul and Chris Weitz, who had just come off of American Pie, Steve O'Derrick. I mean, there were a lot of writers on this particular film, and it is definitely a step down from the first film. It doesn't have quite that same spark and memorability that the first film does, but there are still a lot of good funny moments in here. And I do like the concept of a buddy love coming out of Sherman Klump and actually having to duke it out with him. And it does lead to a pretty entertaining, fun climax at the end of the movie with a lot of funny, silly moments in it. And, like, it knows it's ridiculous. It knows it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It knows it really has a lot to do to try to keep up with the first film. And it doesn't quite do it all the way through, but I don't think it's as terrible as people make it out to be. It's not as bad as what most comedy sequels are, is what I'm trying to say here. Like, you could definitely tell there was effort put into this. Maybe not as much as the first movie did. I think maybe the Klumps were a little bit too much to throw into this, honestly. But at the same time, the additions that they have in here are not terrible, honestly. I feel like Universal was trying to make this kind of the similar success to like the Austin Powers movies, like how The Spy Who Shagged Me went on to be one of the biggest comedy hits of the year, the previous year. And I think that's what they were trying to do with this. But it didn't quite work as much as Austin Powers did. I mean, but like I said, most comedy sequels usually do not end up being as good as they should. I mean, compared to the first film. I mean, the original Eddie Murphy film is a great film, and this, it's not the best, but it certainly isn't the worst either. And everybody in here does their job well. Larry Miller gets a more expanded role in here as well. Janet Jackson has some good chemistry with Eddie Murphy, and seeing him playing all these characters again is a ton of fun to watch. I do like a lot of the elements in here. Would I say it's the better of the two movies? No, not really. And I'm kind of glad that they stopped after this film in particular, because I really don't know if you could continue this into another film, especially now. It's been almost over 20 years since the last film, and Eddie Murphy's been kind of going back into the well to try to recapture some of that old magic of his with stuff like just today we had the Beverly Hills Cop trailer come out, which looks fun, but I have my concerns about that one. And then there's Coming to America, which was not the success I think they wanted it to be. This is fine for what it is. It's nothing too crazy. It's nothing too spectacular compared to the first movie. That first movie still holds up after all these years. This one, not quite as much, but it still has some funny moments in there that I will recommend it for. I think it is a very solid film. It's not a great film overall, but it's still a very solid film, so I'll give it that. With that said, on to our last film, and that is Thomas and the Magic Railroad.
This summer, take a magical trip to a world unlike any other. An enchanting place where adventure is only a whistle away. Destination Films presents Alec Baldwin, Peter Fonda, Mara Wilson, and Thomas.
Little engines can do big things.
Things are gonna change around here, Puffball. Thomas and the Magic Railroad.
rolling into theaters everywhere July 2000.
Yeah, Thomas really should not have that look on his face when that guy comes up there and says things are going to change around here. I mean, I don't know what the hell they were thinking on that one, but you could say that's part of the many, many problems of this particular film. This is, of course, based off the Thomas the Tank Engine film TV series. It's the only movie they've done so far, although they keep talking about doing another one with Mark Forster as the director, but they've been talking about that for a couple years now. And basically in this one here, you have Mara Wilson playing Lily Stone, the granddaughter of this caretaker played by Peter Fonda of an enchanted steam engine who was lacking an appropriate supply of coal, and Mr. Conductor, played here by Alec Baldwin of Shining Time Station, whose provisions of magical gold dust are at a critical low. Lily and Mr. Conductor have to enlist the help of Thomas the Tank Engine, who confronts the ruthless steam engine-hating Diesel 10 along the way. And this is a film that really is very interesting in how, even though the creator of the Thomas the Tank Engine series is behind this, as she's the writer and director here, she literally left the company after this movie came out, and because the film was so poorly presented. I mean, it's weird because it was a bomb, but it basically made its budget back. It only had a budget of like $19 million. I think it made a little bit over that, about close to $20 million in overall, but the fact that she left her company 2 months after this came out, and basically the series had to be redone all over again after she left, it's just like, it should pretty much tell you everything you need to know about how bad this movie ends up being. And I think it's bad mostly because you have 3 different performances in here that are just all over the place. Alec Baldwin's playing this a little too over the top for his own good. Mara Wilson really does not look like she wants to be there right now. I mean, this is basically the last major movie that she was in, for the most part, when she was still considered that girl from Mrs. Doubtfire, Miracle on 34th Street, Matilda. And her career was kind of dying out at this point, as far as what she was back then. I mean, it's kind of gained a little bit of a renaissance since then. But then you have Peter Fonda, who thinks he's in an Academy Award-worthy film, giving 2 series of performance for a movie called Thomas and the Magic Railroad, starring Thomas the Tank Engine. I mean, my God. This is Easy Rider here, guys. This is the guy that has been in so many bigger, much more important movies than this, and he's pretending like this is going to win him an Academy Award, and it really, those 3 elements balancing into this film really does not work in the end. And in a way, this kind of reminds me, you know what this kind of reminded me of? It kind of reminded me of Barney's Great Adventure, the movie that came out a couple years before this. Really did not need to go to the big screen, and actually looked pretty cheap on its own merits, but you know what? They were at least trying to do something interesting and fun in that movie. They're not doing anything of that in this movie. You have too many performances going in too many different directions for the movie. It really should not be this way for, again, a film starring Thomas the Tank Engine. Like, I'm not expecting anything. I'm not expecting a Shakespearean storyline or something deep and all that, or even something is. But you have to know your audience when you're making this movie, and I think this director the creator of this had way too many high ambitions for this, and it ended up backfiring in a big way. The movie is largely forgotten, and Thomas the Tank Engine has basically gone back to the way that we remember as kids. I mean, it's still popular to this very day, but nobody ever talks about this movie, and that's for good reason, because it just really does not fly with what we used to seeing from the world of Thomas the Tank Engine and Shining Time Station. Not much more I can add to that. I mean, this is a film that really fell apart right from the get-go. And like I said, the fact that this creator left the company and this creation of hers after 2 months after the movie came out really tells you something about how bad this ended up being. So, yeah, not much more to say about that one. Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Nothing too magical about it.